It's often said that autistic people struggle with the theory of mind. That is, we have a weak ability to understand other people have different beliefs, motives, intentions, desires, knowledge than ourselves. This is one reason that it's hard for us to navigate social situations because, well, it's hard for us to get other people's perspectives. But is this completely accurate? And moreover, is it completely fair to say? Because, well, do we test the neurotypicals? And do we see how much they understand the autistic person's minds, their theory of mind? I think this is largely the issue, and I'm going to say that it's true to a degree, but I don't think this is a one way street. I think there's misunderstanding on both sides, and, well, we have more practice around neurotypicals. We're expected to understand neurotypicals, so we start off struggling a lot, and, well, we grow out of our autism, meaning we act more neurotypical over time. So I just kind of want to caveat some of these things because I think that it is a two-way street. So to begin, I have seen it as far as saying that autistic people can't understand that other people don't have the same information. Like, if I know quantum field theory, I think everybody knows it. No, that's ridiculous. In fact, when I was a little kid, a preschooler, I knew something was going on different in my head. And right away I was trying to hide it. So I don't know if that statement has to do with like level 1 versus level 2 or level 3 autism, but in any case, it's not a universal thing where I can't understand people think differently. I can't understand people believe things differently. I can't understand why people have different intentions than myself. No, I know they're there. I know I'm different. And, well, I think I understand how people function to a large degree. At least, I think I understand neurotypicals better than they understand me. Again, I'm expected to fit into that sort of mold. They don't even realize there's a different mold. So, at the end of the day, the way I see it is we kind of learn how to socialize, and by the time we grow up, maybe we're like 80% of the way there. Maybe if we're being lenient or optimistic, 98% of the way there. We're only missing 2% of the understanding. And a lot of times, I think a lot of the understanding that I'm missing is the how do you come to that conclusion, not what's going on. Because it seems that a lot of people misinterpret what I do and don't understand. And, well, I think to some degree it's their lack of understanding of their theory of my mind. So, it's just not a one way street. It's just not a one way street. And I think it makes total sense that autistic people are going to be able to understand neurotypicals better than us. Because, again, we're forced to. We're just forced to. So, there's just so many things that I see it happen and I understand what's happening. It's just, I don't really get why exactly. I explain it with neurotypicals base their decision making processes off emotions more so than logic and reason. They feel a certain way about this, and so that's what dictates what they do. It's not like I'm oblivious to the fact that they have a different mind than my own, but on the flip side of things, I am aware I don't get them completely. I don't think I'm at 90% or 98. I think probably 80% is fair though. I really do. However, neurotypicals, they seem to think they have 100% a lot of times. At least that's how it seems from my side of things. And who knows, maybe I'm just terrible at the theory of mind. I'm reading things wrong. But the dismissive attitudes I get when I try to give an input and people tell me what I actually think and what I actually know tells me that you think you know me better than you do. And, well, that's because you're projecting yourself on me thinking I'm more like you than I am, not realizing that my mind's different than yours. So it just seems like it's not really inherent to neurotypicals or autistic people. It all hinges on having a different perspective. It's just, again, we're forced to look at that perspective way more than us. So here we are acting like we don't get neurotypicals despite understanding the way they are to a much greater degree than us. But we understand we don't get them where they think they get us perfectly. So there's just a lot wrong here that I think we can't pin it all on autistic people or neurodivergent people. I think there's a lot that can be said about how neurotypicals read us and how neurotypicals don't get us and how that relates to our social difficulty and so on and so forth. Because really, it's just, I think misunderstanding is oftentimes a two-way street. And if one side's not putting the effort in, who's misunderstanding who more so than the other? I find that people do seem to misinterpret me and my intentions and what I'm saying and how I'm saying it, as well as what I'm capable of. It's like, for some reason, they can see that I'm different, but they don't quite realize that I'm still seeing things in a different way. It's like they just default to be like me. Be like me. This is how things are supposed to be. So, I've seen it a lot that autistic people struggle with the theory of mind, which again I'll acknowledge as true. It's just not at that degree of, I can't understand that you don't know differential equations because I know differential equations. I've actually had this in conversation before. We were talking about carbon dating, and I explained how that works using a simple differential equation. And the only reason I threw the word in to say there's science involved, that was my point. The other person thought, I don't know differential equations. I don't know how you say that. It's like I know you don't know, but they didn't realize that I knew they didn't know. They thought almost as if, since I know it, then they think that, I know too. And like, it's just wrong. Wrong. I'm not saying that since I know differential equations, you know differential equations. I'm just saying differential equations is kind of a math that you can use in science to make predictions. And so I'm giving some sort of validity to my statement. And it's just completely misinterpreted by the other person sometimes, and that's just one example. I'm using that with a friend who I grew up with. He would constantly do that, constantly point out things that like I didn't get or wasn't aware of, and oftentimes it was his own misunderstanding of what I was trying to get across. And you can't really blame people too much for this sort of thing, because if I present something in a way that they misunderstand, I just gotta realize the same things happen to me, and it does happen to autistic people. So, that's the thing. I just wish there was more understanding on our side, I guess, is the crux of this whole entire spiel here. Because if they try to understand us more, I think that it would be easier to talk to autistic people. And, well, it hinges on the fact that not everybody's neurotypical. And the theory of mind has to do with the ability to understand not everybody thinks the same. There we go. Bingo. There's a big issue, because we're expected to think neurotypical, right? So I just wish we wouldn't pin it all on autistic people not fitting into a neurotypical world, and realize that there's different sorts of people out there, and neurotypical is the way it always has been, but maybe we should make some more room for neurodivergent people. And I think this is a good place to start, with realizing that it's not just autistic people who struggle to understand neurotypical people. I think the neurotypical struggle to understand us to a greater degree.